All right, folks, welcome back to Guitar Radio Show. Our next guest is a constant in the world of guitar music. He, honestly, I think he's kind of always been there. And his latest record, Nothing But Soul, is a testimonial of society, life, love, happiness, sadness, injustice, utilizing rock, blues, funk, R&B, and of course soul as the alphabet, the very language to bring it all to our ears and minds and our souls, and as a beautiful sonic wake up call. This is a great record, y'all.
Yeah,
Please
man.
welcome to the show, Mr. Jon Butcher. How are you, sir?
Brother, thank you so much for having me on. Uh, if there are two things I like to talk about, it's music and guitars. And they're inextricably linked. So we're in good stead here.
Yes, we're in hog heaven.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So this record you started last summer, and then
Yeah.
you just were like, it's not happening. I'm going to scrap it, and then I'm going to kind of start over. Now,
Yeah.
were there remnants of this record from the original sessions that ended up on this record, or?
Only barely. Um,
Mhm.
I had, as you mentioned, I started a record almost 2 years ago and was just about finished and was just about to release it. And sometimes what happens is you finish recording something and you walk away from it for a moment to do whatever you're doing. Then you come back and see if you still like it. Well, I came back to this record and I said, nah, it wasn't even close to what I was trying to say. So I scrapped it all but maybe one track. There's a song on my new album called Blue Sky.
Mhm.
And that's the only sort of, I wouldn't call it a remnant. It's the survivor of that first attempt, which I didn't believe in, Mark. I didn't. And at a point, you ask yourself, well, what if this was my last record? Like what
Mhm.
if it was? Not to be morbid, but if it was, I wanted to be something that really said what I wanted to say in the
Yeah.
way that I wanted to say it. So,
Well, you did. And I asked you just off mic just a minute ago. I asked you, did you make this album specifically for me? Because I feel like you did.
there are strains of my growing up in this record. I was shaped by bands like War and
Mm.
Sly and
Mhm.
Graham Central Station and Fishbone and Mother's Finest and Parliament,
Mhm.
Funkadelic, and of course Jimi Hendrix, right?
Mhm.
But to the world at large, I think the probably the only awareness is my affection for Jimmy and not for all of those other elements that contributed to how I got here.
Mhm.
So Nothing But Soul is a tribute album in the sense that I am offering homage to these wonderful musicians and bands. Maybe some people haven't heard of them, maybe they have, but they shaped me.
Mhm. Yeah, the latest single, which is "Shout It," um, it's the first single from the record.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, I heard that and I was like, oh my God, Sly would have loved this,
If he wasn't the grandfather, then who was?
right?
That marriage, that mixture of funk and rock with a San Francisco lyrical sensibility, because this
Hmm.
was, that brother was aware and he was thinking things
Hmm.
and reflecting those things in his.
Hmm.
Well, that song Shouted is really about that.
Hmm.
If there is something that's burning inside you, shout it out loud. Because
Hmm.
if not, then when? If
Yeah,
not, now when?
yeah. Speak up. Yeah, man, it's so good. It's funny, with the recent passing of Sly. Uh, he was one of my childhood heroes, without a doubt. Because it
Yeah.
was when I remember I heard, what did I hear? I think I heard Dance the Music first, which
Probably
probably
so.
a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And then when I saw them on Ed Sullivan,
Hmm.
I was like, wait a minute, there's guys in the band, there's girls in the band. there's black people in the band, there's white people in the band. I was like, wow, I had never seen that before. Because
Not only
before that
that,
it
but
was
it wasn't presented to you as possible. You know,
right,
it
right,
never occurred to many people that that was possible, that that
right.
was something. Now we look at it, and nobody thinks twice, but Sly and the Family Stone, they brook those waters, those early turbulent waters. And how can you not love them for it? My
Yeah,
album is a tribute to him and others.
yeah, it's so great. It's so great. I love that track. It's the track that we actually came in on for the podcast. The YouTube version won't allow us to play that, so you'll hear it on the podcast.
Cool.
But it's great. I love it. It's fantastic. I have so much I want to talk. So when you went back in to record this record, now
Yeah.
you started okay. Uh, My Blue Sky was sort of a survivor
Mhm.
from the last thing.
Yeah.
When you jump back in, were you did you jump in? Did you jump back in with a new sense of purpose?
Yes, absolutely. I have an engineer that I've been working with for many years. His name is Warren Babson. And he and I, he's a young guy with a really, really talented skill set. And so we've really created a production relationship that I am so thankful for. Well, I was talking to him and I was listening to the what was going to be my new record. And I said, Warren, I'm not feeling this. This is
Right.
not saying what I want to say. This is even not even coming from where I wanted to come from. And he said, and he's always supported me. He said, Jon, shelve it. Let's start over. Boom. I was inspired, you know. And so having felt inspiration and the, you know, that fiery furnace of creativity, each of these songs, bang, boom, boom, well, you know, one after another, they all came pouring out of me, which tells me that's what I was supposed to be doing. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
does that make
Well,
sense?
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
where did you do this in your studio?
No, here's how that works. I have a studio in my house, right?
Right.
And I sketch out all my ideas. In fact, it's a pretty good sounding studio. So sometimes I record guitars there, you know, because I can take my time. I'm not sitting in front of the mixing console with Warren afraid that he's looking bored, right? So I'm in my basement and I'm working out ideas and I'm playing. Then I bring those ideas to our production studio, which is called Bang a Song in Gloucester, Mass. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we stage everything for final liftoff. You know, we start using outboard gear and really making a record. But all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, all those songs began in my basement.
That's cool. So that gives you that freedom, that sense of, I don't have to watch the clock.
Yeah, I wasn't constrained by anything,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
good.
and I was free to try stuff and get rid of it and try another approach with a different guitar, get rid of that, go back to the first
Hmm.
one. And
Hmm.
so I really like working that way. At least it works well for me.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. Like when I'm working here, the stuff that I do is mostly for TV, film, jingles, and stuff like that. I don't,
Sure.
and when something flies in, it's like, okay, unless that producer is like, okay, I need to have this by blank, blank, blank time,
Yeah.
it's usually pretty, it's such a relaxed setting. I don't have to worry about, you know, how much it's costing me.
Yeah.
That because that's a big deal. I mean, I remember like in the 80s when I was doing records, it was always, we were always conscious of okay, this is costing money. Let's
Big
get
time.
this done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even
But
if you didn't have to whip out your checkbook that day, the fact of the matter is the accountants at the record company were following every nickel,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
that became your band debt, is what
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There was always, I mean, I still owe money.
happened.
They're never going to get. I mean, there was always a bill to pay for sure. Um, so let's get into it. I want to talk about tracks. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this. Okay. So the track Jam, this funky R&B thing that's going on, the bass is so nasty on there. I love that bass track. It's so raw. It's so, it's not what you normally hear, these very tidied up kind of bass lines.
Yeah.
This thing's raw and
No,
nasty
it's raw.
in your
That's me.
face. That's
I
you.
played, yeah, I played bass on most of the record.
Yeah.
And because I knew what I was looking for. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, the nastiness of that particular track. Yes. I've got a killer old Sunburst precision bass that I
Mhm.
used to record. Flat wounds, old school, right?
Yeah.
But I've got some bass amps that are like gnarly, like in
Hmm.
models of
Hmm.
Ampeg SVTs, and I got all that stuff. And so I
Yeah.
knew in that track I wanted to have something really aggressive that, that had teeth in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got it. I love that. I love that track. It's got that really, folks, I got to tell you, the record comes out on, was it July 1?
July 1.
July 1, this record comes out. You're probably going to hear this on July 3rd. So the record's already out, y'all. Go get this record. And
Check it out.
I allow you all to stream it once and then go buy it and then go stream the shit out of it.
I
All right.
love it. I
Let's do
love it.
that. Let's
Yes.
do that. Because the only way, that's what we say at the end of every show. We have this on
Yeah.
the show. It's like, if you like the music you hear here, great. That's fantastic. Don't just stream it. Go buy it. Because this
Go
way,
get it.
those
Yes,
folks
sir.
can those folks can go ahead and make more of it if you like it.
We're not in these days, I know you'll relate to this. There was a time when there were giant record companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those giant record companies sort of held sway over us and everybody,
Yep.
in terms of the when, the where, the how much, all of it.
Yeah.
Well, that landscape has changed, for most of us. I'm not sure how some hip hop artists are doing these days. It might be a different business for them. But for me, the model has changed 180 degrees. And so while I have the freedom to produce the music as I hear it and to distribute it as I see fit and to do those things, I'm paying for it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Mm-hmm.
free. And I really love it. I've been so lucky to have fans who have brought me here, to this state. I've had fans who stuck with me all these
Mm-hmm.
years, they're still there. So I am grateful for that. I'm thankful for that support and that love that still comes my way. But to make music for us, there's a cost involved.
Absolutely. And like I said, folks, if you like it, why, the whole idea, this whole idea that, oh, well, it's free. I'm listening to, I can just go
Yeah.
listen to it. And it's like, no, 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 no. Don't get used to that because nothing is
No,
free. Nothing is free.
no, no. Somebody's
Um,
paying.
Somebody's paying for it. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so we're going to go through tracks here. We'll just go through
Sure.
tracks. So look what you've done. Is this beautiful, soulful love song. Um, I always love the idea, when I think about songs, I can't remember who said it, you know, songs are something from nothing. It's like there was nothing there and then all of a sudden there was,
There was. Yeah.
and how is that for you regarding this particular song?
That song was my thank you to Al Green.
Mm,
There is something about his records, those early records of his and his voice. And so what I was going for, I don't know how successful I was, but I was going for my interpretation of Al Green.
hmm.
Except for the end, of course, where I couldn't help myself and I'm playing guitar through the end. But that's what I was going for.
Hmm.
All of these men and women are contributors to this color palette.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could say the same thing for the song "Restless,"
Yeah,
which is I got a Miracles vibe out of that.
you're exactly right. There's a
You
bit of
know,
Philly soul in that. And yeah, miracles. I can see that now that you put
yeah. And that solo at the end is just so classy. I mean, it's
it.
just pure class. I mean, like, when they say chef's kiss, wow, I was like, yeah, man, that solo is great. Tell me about what did you use on that solo?
Man, I have been using this guitar It's not even a guitar. It's an extension of my hands and my brain at this point. There is no separation. I have a 63 Fender Olympic White Stratocaster that
Right.
I have been using and touring with forever. And that and a 1953 Telecaster are the guitars you hear on this record. Eat
Uh-huh.
one or the other through, a Fender. I've got a lot of amps, a Fender Champ. I also use, I've got a 90s era blues, Fender Blues Junior that
Hmm.
I tour with sometimes because it's ferocious. Somebody
Hmm.
did something to this amp, one of them, my tech guys. And when it came back to me, it was like it had, muscles, bulging. Come on, let's go. So what you're hearing is probably my Stratocaster on that track.
Oh, it's perfect. And, that's and we were talking off mic about Fender and about Strats. And how many Strats do you have total?
Well, I hope I'm not going to disappoint people that hear this. I don't have very many. I used to have a huge guitar collection, and here's what happened.
Hmm.
I whittled it down to the guitars I use.
Hmm.
So that would mean in this case, I've got two Strats that I use a lot. I've got
Hmm.
a couple of Telecasters that I use a lot. And I've got one or maybe I've got a Les Paul that I almost never touch. And
Same.
I've got an ES-335 that I love a lot, but I don't tour with it because I feel like it's too fragile for my
Hmm.
stage thing.
Hmm.
But my point is, I don't have a lot of guys I know are selling their huge collections. Lots of
Hmm.
guys. My buddy Johnny A. He has huge guitar collection. He's offloading it right now and
Yeah.
paring it down to the stuff that allows him to make music. And
Yeah.
that's it. No extras, no. So I've changed. I got maybe 11 guitars total.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. And what was it back like in when you were collecting a lot?
It was mostly when I was touring heavily. For
Mhm.
instance, I go into there was this guitar place that used to be in Detroit. And if we had time before the show, me and my buddy would go there and see what's there. So I'd do that in every city we were in. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm looking. What's
Yeah.
this? 54 this or a 52 that? And I was doing it early, so I wasn't paying like five-figure prices for these guitars.
Right. Right. Right.
Not all of us are Joe Bonamassa.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Enough said about that.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Me, as you can see behind me, I got a problem, but
got a couple of guitars
I
there.
got a couple, and there's a lot more around that you can't see.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm still in that phase of, but this does that and this does that. Like
Yeah.
I'm literally working on a track in here, and I'll go, yeah, that one there. That's
Yeah.
gonna give me that, Mark Knopfler sound, or that's
I
gonna
can
give
see
me that,
that.
or this or that, or whatever it is that I'm looking for. And I want to get to that point. I was talking to a good friend of mine, my buddy, my co-host, Rob Wingler. I was talking to him saying, I really want to pare this down at some point. And he's like,
You
no.
will.
He goes,
You
no,
don't
you
even have to
won't.
think about it. One day you'll wake up and you'll be thinking of me, right? And you'll
Yeah.
go, what? That John was right. I've
Yeah.
been playing this one guitar here more than any other, and it's my go-to and it's my reliable friend.
Hmm.
And these other guys are great, but there's my buddy right there on the wall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that'll happen. Believe me, it
Yeah.
will.
Well, in some respects, I'm kind of looking forward to that. Um, because, it's one of those things where they say you can't take it with you, right?
True
So,
enough. Yeah.
yeah, so it's important. But that solo on Restless, oof, I literally in my notes, I
Thank you.
literally put a heart next to it. It's
Oh, I love that.
I
I
just
love it.
it's
You're making my
just
day.
it's such a beautiful solo.
Thank you, brother.
I've got to ask you about, we talked earlier about My Blue Sky. I want to talk about
Yes.
that again.
Yeah.
So um I'm a huge vibe nut. And the funny thing is, like, I was going on a vibe hunt about 5 years ago, and I was trying this one and that one and all these different vibe uh iterations of vibe pedals. And this is gonna sound crazy, but I ended up going with, I had a $600 vibe, and I was
Hmm.
okay. And then I had found this vibe for $45,
I love stories like that.
and
I love it.
I put them next to each other, and I close my eyes, and
Couldn't tell the
I had my
difference.
daughter switching between the two vibes while I was playing,
Yeah.
and I could not tell. I offloaded the $600 vibe, and I kept the $45 vibe, and it's my vibe, and everybody loves my vibe sound.
I have no doubt that that's true. I have a tremolo like that on my board. A tremolo pedal. I believe I got it off of Amazon for $65 because it was small. And I
Right?
had this little space. I wanted to have this effect on some songs. And I went, oh, let me try one of these little mini pet. Well, it worked out great.
Yeah.
And I have no shame
Hmm.
about the tools that I use. Whether now the vibe I'm using is by R. Weaver FX. I don't know whether
Okay.
you've heard of them. It's a midnight vibe,
I have
and
not.
I've known him for a long time, and he makes great stuff. But what you say is true. It is no longer necessary for us to break the bank to get a pedal or a this because there are so many of them that aren't, you know, $200 plus that I think it's worthwhile to check stuff out. And there's something
Absolutely.
for every budget. There really is.
Yeah. But your vibe sound on there is so chewy and lush. And man, it sounds great. It really does.
Yeah, that's that midnight vibe. Let me tell you something about that track. I started recording that about a year ago.
Hmm.
And I was working on the track and I had this vocal, right? And I recorded and I went, that's that vocal. I hate it. It sucks. So I'd throw away the vocal, walk away from the song, come back to it, work on developing the track a little bit more and creating vibe and atmosphere. And I have another vocal. I sing that one. I hate that. I did
Mm.
that maybe 5 or 6 times
Wow.
before I felt like it didn't feel pretentious to me. I wanted to really avoid pretension. So I was just talking about me, about really getting up in the morning, looking outside your window, and just that. I'm still alive and I've got this blue sky. And that's all.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. No deeper than that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I've come into really clarity with is gratitude at this point.
Yes,
It feels great. It allows me to be more creative. It
there it
allows
is
me
right
to be more
there.
open. Yeah, man.
I
It's
think I
great. I
think
love
gratitude allows us to be open, like you just said.
it.
The
Hmm.
gate is open. If the gate is open, anything can come in.
Hmm.
Any wonderful thing that might not have wandered by your gate. So that's how I see it. I feel gratitude every day, and I think about it, and I think about having gratitude and having a being able to make music for people who want to hear the music I make.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that. Nothing. I have
Yeah.
huge gratitude for it.
That's great. I love that. And I think that shows over the whole record because it's such an honest record. And it's I don't know. It's one of those records that washes over you. Are you familiar with Andy Elladort? You know Andy?
No, I don't think I do.
He's an amazing guitar player. One of my childhood heroes. He had a record that came out. He writes for Guitar World.
Oh,
Um, he had a record called oh God, he's gonna kill me in dreams. In a dream, I think it's called. Anyway, it's one of those records. Like this record is similar to that
oh,
in the sense, not musically,
okay.
in the sense that it washes over you in a way that it makes you, it just makes you feel right. Does that make
Oh, I
sense?
can't wait. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm getting from a Nothing But Soul. It's one of the, I'm so glad. I want to say special thanks to Tom Guerra, who put us together for
Hmm.
this, and he sent me the record, and I was just like, wow. And I really did feel like, wow, this record. I love when records come along at a time, and that's how it was for the Andy record.
Yeah.
Records come along sometimes they come along at the right time in your life where you go, oh, I needed this.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
something I needed.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. That's how I felt. I
Yeah.
didn't feel differently than you do. I felt like, when I was creating some of this music, I said to my engineer Warren, I needed that. I needed to do this. I needed to play it. It
Mhm.
was screaming for me to get out. And
Yeah.
when it came out, it made me feel good. So I knew I was on the right track.
That's great. That's wonderful. How did you do the backwards masking on My Blue Sky?
Oh, I feel like that's one of my specialties. I
I
really,
love it.
in the old days, now check it out. In the old analog tape days, what
Hmm.
you do is flip the tape.
Flip it
You
over. Yep.
literally flip the tape, and then you record regular to the backwards music that you're listening to,
Right.
flip the tape back, and you'd have backwards guitar. That was a long
Mhm.
time ago. Now it's really no more complex than either having a device in your Pro Tools or on your pedal board.
Yep.
Strymon makes several reverb styles, and they know that guys like me are looking for a really believably sounding a backwards effect.
Yeah.
So between that and a couple of studio tricks that Warren and I did, I think I got something that sounds, you know what? I wanted to get something that sounded ambient, but not like
Mhm.
over the top, any of that stuff. I just wanted
Right.
something that was really mellow and fit what I was saying in the song. You
Hmm. Yeah, it does. It has that subtlety, but yet it's upfront enough where
Yeah.
it completely captures your ear and draws you in. That's what you want, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that song what I like about it most is that it's a little free form in a certain kind of way.
Hmm.
And that creates an atmosphere that it hopefully is inviting.
Yeah. No, it is absolutely. It drew me right in. Whenever I hear any kind of interesting backwards masking, it's always fascinating to me. One of my favorites is, do you remember this is from Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road record? Davy Johnstone did a backwards guitar solo on a song called I've Seen That Movie Too.
Oh, I forgot about that song. I
Remember
forgot
that
about
tune?
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. What a great band Elton had during that period. Holy
Amazing.
cow.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah.
An A plus stellar band all the way,
Yeah.
every chair. These
Yep.
guys, amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, Unbreakable. Wow. So cool. I said, I don't play live anymore because I just don't want to schlep gear around. I'm just done. I love being a studio rat. I just love it.
Oh, that's so funny. It's so true, though.
But when I heard this song, I was like, man, this is a song I'd get out to go and play. I would love that's a live song.
That's a James Brown funk thing
Mhm.
that I know that people that heard it would relate to if you dig that. If you dig
Mhm.
that, then that thing it is right there. The vibe is right. I got a great drummer, and the funk in that is like crisp. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that break when everybody's saying who's that drummer, I love the hocketing that's going on there with the drums and the rest of them.
It's all live in the studio. We're standing around laughing our butts off.
Yeah.
Okay, we were recording that, and the drummer's in the drum booth, but it's not isolated. There's no door on it.
Right.
So all of us were doing the track, the basic track. And first I'm looking in there, then my buddy on bass is looking in there, and we're having a party during those moments, and that's what you hear.
Yeah, that's great. And it comes across. It's so live. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I dig it. It was great. Um, Killer lyric, great, amazing subject matter, especially now. And the once again very lush, very pronounced, in your face, but smooth at the same time. Was arrested with no charge.
Hmm.
Wow. This, once again, I love how the record takes us through all of these areas of society. Like I said in the beginning of this interview, you know, um, is this something that happened to you?
like everybody else in the world on January 6th, I was
Hmm.
watching TV
Hmm.
and completely overwhelmed by what I was seeing.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Completely overwhelmed. And I'm sitting there with my wife, and I'm thinking, I can't remember whether it was me or her that said, sooner or later they're gonna get arrested, you know. And then she said, yeah, but there'll be no charge. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. These guys are going away forever. Well, we all know what happened, and we don't need
Right.
to rehash that.
Right.
But it evokes something in me, a
Hmm.
truth that law isn't always law. Some things apply to some people, some things apply to other people. And that's just the truth of the world we live in.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like to politic and all that stuff. And, some people are
Same.
good soapboxing and talking
Hmm.
about, whoever. And
Hmm.
I'm just not into that.
Yeah.
However, I am into reflecting my own truth. And so that song had its orientation in one place while I was watching television, but it obviously took me to a slightly different storyline.
Right. Right. And and that's happening everywhere,
Yeah.
all over the planet, not just in America, but all over the planet.
It
And
really is true. We're in a very, on the one hand, as artists, you and I,
mhm,
we're in a really, really exceptional place because there's chaos and fear everywhere.
yeah.
And those elements are descriptives of art. They are.
Hmm.
They always have been from the
Hmm.
very beginning. A,
Hmm.
a society that's comfortable does not create great art. It always comes from friction and chaos and anger and fear. And so you and I, are in this place, and I'm writing about it
Yeah.
in a way that is not proselytizing. I'm talking about it in ways that are truthful to me without having to, force my belief system. I don't even get into it anywhere on the
Hmm.
record. I
Hmm.
make no mention of that.
Hmm.
I just talk about the basic things of living and breathing and being free to make decisions.
Right. It doesn't have to
That's
be
it.
heavy. It doesn't have to be heavy-handed.
No.
It just has to be. It's just a conversation.
Yeah, so for me, the record is on a certain level, maybe protest music, but not in the way that it is waving a banner. I'm
Right.
not waving a banner. I'm talking about human beings and our response to the input of the world we find ourselves in.
Hmm. Absolutely. And no, that's really not a whole lot different than what Sly was doing.
That's right.
I mean, he always found a way to say, hey, this, we're all in this together.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Um, Everyday People
Yeah.
is a song that it describes my entire framework. You know,
Hmm.
we really are just the same. And these experiences, we all feel them.
Hmm.
I'll tell you what, all of us have fear right now. All of us, not just Democrats or Republicans and all that. We have
Hmm.
fear and
Hmm.
uncertainty. Uncertainty makes fear, right?
Hmm.
So on the one hand, those are great tools for a writer and an artist. On the other hand, it's tough to live in a world like that. And here we are.
Yeah. Your guitar tone on this track is spectacular.
Oh, thank you.
Was that 63 Strat?
Well, mostly,
Yeah.
I have to tell you though, even though I have a broad amp collection, I tried something different recording this time. I bought a Fender Tone Master Pro. Have you heard of it?
I have.
I've been working with it. Johnny A and I bought him almost on the same day, and I've been sort of trying to understand what this is about. This system of guitar emulation. Well, come to find out, I used it to great effect on this record. There are places where I guarantee you can't tell whether it's a real Fender Princeton or a virtual Fender Princeton that I'm using.
Hmm.
And I've been using that stuff interchangeably on this record because I find that it makes workflow easier. You
Sure.
know, it's not rocket science, but if you're using an analog amp, you got to place a mic in front of it. You want to place the right mic in front of it. Maybe two mics.
Absolutely.
Maybe you don't want them to cancel themselves out. So
Right.
it's a process, and before you know it, 2 hours have gone by. You haven't played note one.
Hmm.
Yes. I go down in my basement. I plug this Tone Master Pro in. I know the amp I'm looking for. I know the compression I'm looking for. Bing, bang, boom. 15 minutes later, I am working. So
Yeah.
that so I've been enjoying the technology, and I've
Yeah.
used it on this record.
Yeah. In my studio now, honestly, I've only got one real amp in the room. It's
What is it?
an AC-15.
Ah,
I love it to death.
uh-huh.
It's so pedal friendly. I love it. It's great. It's the amp that when I want to push air, it's the amp I want to use. Other than that, I'm using all Sims. I'm using everything, all the work
You
that
mean
I'm
like Amp Farm and all that stuff?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's and I oh it's funny too because like I'll work a part out on the box, and through with my board and everything else. And I'm like, okay, I really dig this part along with the track, the rest of the track. Okay, what am I pulling up? I'm always pulling up a Vox amp sim.
Ah, how about that? That makes
And
sense to me, though. It
yeah,
does. I
but nobody
understand that.
knows. Nobody ever, they'll go, oh wow, that was that a Marshall? No, that
So
was
that Vox AC-15, how long have you had it?
oh boy, I guess I've had it now 6 years.
Okay, so it's relatively new.
Yeah,
Would you say that that is how many watts is it? 15?
15.
Okay. Would you say that that amp is loud enough to serve in a band live?
Absolutely.
I'm going to have to check one of those out sometime. I have never played, the only Vox I ever plugged into was my buddy Super Beetle back in the 70s.
Hmm.
I really have never used Vox amps, but I'm very curious about the AC-15.
Yeah, before that, I mean, honestly, whenever I saw Vox amps, I was like, well, those are older guys' amps. You know what I mean? That's how that was this kind of a weird, like, oh, I'm not doing the Beatles, I'm not doing, British Invasion stuff. Da, da, da. And I said to myself, wait a minute, let me just sit down with one. So I went to a guitar center, which I rarely do,
Yeah,
and I sat down with one. They were running a sale, and I was like, yeah, I brought my Nobles and my favorite Strat.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this sounds good. All right.
I always,
I started
what?
with a 30. I thought it started with an
An
AC-30. I was like,
AC-30.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is too much. I don't need this much. So I went back and got the 15. I've never looked back.
An
And before,
AC-30 is loud, dude.
oh,
It's
it's
a
so
lot
loud.
louder than people think it is.
Oh, yeah. It's too loud, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I wanted to go out and still do and play live, I would do the AC-15 and never worry about a thing.
What's tubes? Are those EL tubes or 6L6s or what? Do
I
you
don't
know?
even know. I
Oh,
don't even know.
just wondering.
I know there's a single greenback in there, and
I'm
it's
gonna have to check
great.
one out sometime.
Yeah.
I think I'll make a trip down to Guitar Center, see if I can create your experience.
Yeah, it's such a I mean it's incredibly I like a clean platform.
Yeah,
Back in the 80s I was playing boogies,
yeah.
and that was I was all
What
about
were
the
they
boogie.
like? I never owned a boogie either. What are they like to own?
They, as I always went for the small combo. So
Yeah.
I had a 1984, I had a bunch of 84 SOBs, Son of Boogie.
Okay.
So basically, it was what Randall Smith was trying to recreate with when he hot rodded the Princetons,
Huh.
and
Interesting.
it was 60 watts and one speaker.
What didn't you like about it?
I loved it. I used it for years, and then when I came off the road, I was like, this is just too much amp. I
Too
don't need
much. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. And from there, I tried all the other smaller boogies from there. I tried the
Uh-huh.
Subway. I tried, oh God, so many different. At one point, I had 5 boogies in the room. And I was like, what am I doing here? None of this is working for me.
Yeah.
I ended up selling them all. I kept a Champ. I had a Fender Champ. And I just
Yeah.
used that because,
Amp is a good amp for a
you know,
studio. Really
yeah,
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
Layla. So,
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
but then when I played the Vox, I was like, what have I been missing all this time?
Wow.
Yeah,
I got to check that out. I'm going to see
yeah,
if I can find a combo. And you
yeah.
never had any problems with it, huh?
Never,
Yeah, I'm going to check one
never
out.
been. No, but I have played the Fender Tone Master, and I was blown away. And I almost bought one of those when they came out. Really astounding, that technology.
I think so too. I really
Yeah,
like the screen. It's the first such it's the first of those that I'm aware of anyway that had a big enough screen for me to understand what I was looking at. Yeah.
right.
And I don't know. I got a lot of great guitar sounds of it, out
Yeah.
of the record. I really did. I'm really happy with it. The Tone Master Pro will also do a great plexi, and like that's the street I live on. You know,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I'm very happy with adding that to my studio gear.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is your, since we're into gear, what is your wah of choice? Because your wah sound is spectacular.
I like those really sweet Clyde McCoy like
Hmm.
wahs. Now, there's several people that make them now. Um, uh, but I had a box, what was it, an 848, I think, Clyde McCoy. And of course it broke down. Those things, those Vox wahs did not last forever.
Hmm.
So now I'm using a Tees, Jeffrey Tees, RMC3. Wow, I've had
Hmm.
that for quite a number of years. And I really like that inductor. I really like the sweet part of the sweep. And it matters to me. Um,
Hmm.
uh, we were flying somewhere once, and our gear didn't make it in time for the show, so we had to use rented gear. And they had some wah-wah. I think it was a newer Vox 846. And I didn't like that at all. And I
Hmm.
realized I'd gotten used to the sweetness of that tease wah. So that's what I
Hmm.
like.
Hmm.
Vintage wahs are too expensive to take on the road anymore. They just,
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I got a friend here in Austin. His name is Eric Tesmer, and he's a wah like nut job about the old days,
Yeah.
and he takes all this vintage gear out on the road. And I'm always like, it just,
Does he repair it himself?
oh yeah, he works on everything himself.
Well, there you go.
Everything. Yeah. I mean,
There you go.
he's,
It's like driving an old car. You
yeah,
can
and
drive
that's
an
what he
old
does
car
too.
if you want, as long as you can fix it.
Yeah, and he drives a 32 Ford pickup. So,
Well, there you go.
yeah.
There you
So
go.
he's one of those cats. Yeah. No, I love the wah sound. I saw one time, I saw a time lapse uh, video of a flower opening up. And I looked at it and I went, that's how a wah should sound. It didn't have any sound, but I was like, that's
Yeah.
how a wah, it should open up like that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yes, that's
mean?
the sweep. That's
That's
what
the
I'm talking
sweet.
about. The
Yeah.
sweep is when the wah opens up and
Yes.
that voice. And if it's harsh, it's not pleasing. If it's sweet, you can hear it all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how does your rig for your live rig, you're going to take this, I assume you're going to take this out on the road a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
I am. Probably at the end of this year, beginning of next, I think, to do it
Sweet.
proper. But my live rig has been the same. Depending on the venue, I use a Marshall Plexis for larger shows.
Hmm.
And when they're not, I have a Fender Vibrolux and a, a 59 Bassman
Mm.
issue, not an original.
Hmm.
That I'll use in medium-sized venues where you still have to be a little loud, but not.
Right.
And
Right.
anything smaller than that, I've got a great collection of small amps. Like I told you earlier, I've got a Blues Junior from the 90s that I wouldn't sell for $10,000. I,
Yep.
I, I use that to play at Fenway Park, to play the Star Spangled Banner at Fenway Park. And they put a mic in front of that little boy, and you should hear that. It's on YouTube. Check it out.
I will check that out.
Believe what
That's
I'm
cool.
playing through. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like little amps, man. I do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. The Blues Junior is a killer amp. My buddy Darren in California has one. he loved it so much he went hunting for another one to see if he could get one that would sound
All
just.
you got to do is replace the speaker,
Hmm.
which I did, with a what did I put in there? Probably a V30, I think.
Hmm.
And geez, I've been using this amp so many years. It's always been dependable, knock on wood. And I highly recommend it. Now, mine has received a little help from the start. I had a tech that kind of souped it up a little bit, so it's a little hotter than your average bear.
Yeah, I saw Mark Ford, who was with the Black Crows. I saw him play here with his band in a very small venue. It was a restaurant, and he that's all he had. He took the Blues Junior, put it up on a bar stool,
Yeah,
balanced it on a bar stool,
and that
and
was that,
and
right?
that was it.
Yeah,
He just ripped. It
you
was
could hear him just fine. Yes.
oh totally fine. It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah, such a great amp. Let me see. What did we not cover here? Oh, the track. So you bring us in with that um, vocal thing in the very beginning, kind of like a news report, kind of
Yeah.
setting the tone. And then there's a track after the second track. It's called "ICU."
Yeah.
Man, killer.
It's just a groove. I mean,
Oh, it's
that track, I've had that for about a year and a half, and I just love the groove. I didn't
mm-hmm,
want to say too much and from a lyric to detract from the funk of it all.
mm-hmm,
So I just sort of freestyled it, and I went, oh,
mm-hmm,
I kind of like the way that sounds.
mm-hmm.
That's how that came together. But I love
Yeah.
it opening the record. I really do.
Oh, and you know what? That is one of those tracks. Once again, you're somewhere and somebody else comes along and you guys start to jam. That's a that's a tune to just let everybody
It's a jam. Yeah.
just go nuts. Yeah, I love it. And there is a track called Jam, which we talked about already. But and
Yep.
then there's Keep On Riding, which has got this kind of a blues country soulful vibe.
You asked me earlier if any songs survived from that first
Yeah,
record. I forgot.
yeah.
This one is exactly how it was written for the first iteration of
Oh
this
wow.
record that I threw
Okay.
away. And it's the only one I kept intact. So this is how I recorded it maybe 2 years ago. And I just kind of re-sang it again and messed with the guitars again to kind of put a fresh coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
And I think it is a little country, but again, these are all influences. All of the songs
Right.
borrow from things that it had an influence on me
Hmm.
as a kid growing up.
Yeah. Well, this record's like an American songbook.
I'm glad you see it that way. That's great.
Yeah, it really, really is. And and then to end the record with Big John Henry,
Yeah.
taking us back to the basics.
Just me and a guitar and a
Yeah,
harmonica, really.
so good.
Yeah, man.
So good.
Mark, I have to thank you so much for allowing me to come on your show and
Oh,
talk
thank you for
about
doing it.
my new record. I really, really enjoyed getting to know you. And we got to stick together, us guys,
Absolutely.
who have been doing this for a minute. It's important to me that we keep our community intact. It means a lot.
Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. Good luck with this record. It's so good. Folks, it comes out July 1st. If you're already hearing this and it's after July 1st, what are you waiting for?
Thank
What,
you, brother.
what are you waiting for?
I enjoyed this very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, man. Take care now.
Peace.